My name is Bastian Pokorny. I'm from the Fraunhofer Institute. I will talk about that in a few minutes. And I will share our point of view about augmented intelligence, human-centered AI in the perspective of manufacturing. So it's very exciting about your point of view about that issue. So first of all, what is Fraunhofer? Fraunhofer is a research organization. It's one of the largest in the world. It's the largest in Europe regarding applied science. So what we are doing is bringing new technology into the society, into the industry sector. We are about 74 institutes with about 26,000 people running them. And founded 49 and trying hard. AIO is one institute out of that organization, out of that society. We are about 600 people, and I'm heading their department, which is called Connected Manufacturing Systems. So we are dealing with all those questions. What can AI doing in manufacturing? What is AI doing in a collaboration way of work? What is the work of future in that production sector? And that is what IAO is doing mainly. So what we are trying to do hard is finding out what is the work of the future in different sectors. So what we are trying to answer is how is work changing? How is work changing us? How do technology changing all those sectors of work? And what are the major technology trends in that field of actions to deal with? So AI, hot topic worldwide, is a very swinging discussion between promising. It's a very mystical issue at the moment. It's a dramatic issue. It steals all our jobs, destroying the world or saving the world. We'll see. But it is a hot topic, and we have to face all those questions and finding out what's going on within that. So what we see is that digitalization is already or almost the new normal. So we have it right away. We deal with that issues every day, and now we get a new sort of new part added to that, and that is the cognitive thing. So we have learning systems added to that, and we we'll see that the new disruptors will be all those things within the cognitive things. So it's a new cocktail, new mixture between digitalization and AI. So what is AI actually? AI, the easiest way to explain it is maybe a software that can learn and that can adapt that learned things to new situations like a human. So there are a lot of definitions out there, and always the question, is it already AI, or is it just a software, or is it just robot process automation, or what else? We just keep that in mind. I don't want to go too detailed through all those definitions. But within artificial intelligence, we see major technology groups, and that is the machine learning part, and within the machine learning part, the deep learning part, used neural networks, and what we normally discuss at the moment in all those sectors is about machine learning and a little bit about the deep learning part. We'll come up to that later on. Just keep it in mind. So why is it coming again? There were a lot of rising AI discussions in the history. So I think that's the third point of history. AI is coming up again. And the question is, why is it coming up again? A few of those algorithms were developed before we developed computers. So it's a quite old topic on the one hand. On the other hand, we get very much computer power capacity to store data. We have new types of sensors. We have new things in terms of open source, availability of trained AI functionalities and so on. And that brings us to the point that now we have a new chance, a new ability to start a really a really revolutionary approach for adopting AI, because it's not limited to supercomputers. You can use it right away, download TensorFlow, or use TensorFlow just with a data set which is pre-programmed and pre-trained, and you can start right away. So it's coming very fast, and to see what AI is capable to do, we always think about Chris Hammond's periodic table of AI. So we see that AI has many, many different skills, which are defined by assess things. That's all the recognizing stuff. So we can recognize faces, pictures, language, and so on. We can infer that, so we can make decisions out of that, and of course we can respond to all those things. And if we combine several skills out of those AI world, we can talk about new forms of use case groups in terms of manufacturing or all other things in our lives. So we have abilities to start new way to assist people. So that is maybe the major part of that collaboration thing. We can have other extended reality solutions, collaborative robotics. I will show an example of that later on. And of course, intelligent products, a new possibility to personalize products, and so on. So always the questions starting with AI is when does it come? When does it start? When do we see AI in daily life? And if we have a closer look to all those applications we use, then we see AI is already here. So we're using AI things every day, and everybody of us is using it by using platforms like Netflix, which uses AI to give you personalized recommendations based on your watching behavior, or which is using AI to predict bandwidth and peak demands in watching to set the servers ready. We see Microsoft Snip Insights on the left, for example, where you give a picture in and it comes back with store recommendations where you can buy those shoes, for example. Of course, Facebook is a big player in that field of action. We see a lot of AI in that application. It is not only personalized advertising based on your behavior, observing behavior, it's also about text analysis. It starts to interpret and to analyze your communication between other people, and tries to find out what is the context, what are they talking about, to serve them other services, of course also advertising, but also products in terms of website services. And we see very nice and spectacular things going on there. On the left, you see a new type of assistance system. It's called a replica, and it's trying to help you reaching your goals, for example. So you can set your personalized goals, and the assistance system tries to help you reaching them. So it tries to help you, for example, live in a healthier way, or making more sport, or be more social, for example, and tries to give you nudges and nudge you to doing so. Another nice example is that in the right corner up there, the Mind Melt. It's from Cisco. It's an open source platform for building chatbot systems. So it can help you building interfaces where you can just develop dialogue systems, and it is completely open source. So that is another thing which is powering that AI revolution, because we have so many open source and free available tools out there we can just use right away. A very nice, spectacular thing is that we heard it in the presentation before, NVIDIA. They are doing a very nice thing with, here you can see, which is a transfer of very ugly doodles. So that is my kind of style, doing pictures, and it's transferring it to a very realistic landscape using AI. So you just doodle a rock, and it is searching for a nice rock, render it, and bring it to such a nice picture. So just 2 other examples I found, and I think they work. So the first one is in the left corner is Presar API. So that is a tool you can use to analyze text fragments or emails, communication. So it will give you an dashboarding which is showing you what is the mood of that text. For example, is that a very optimistically text? Is it a aggressive text? So you can use it for your mails to analyze them. You also can use it for things about recruitment, communication, touchpoint analysis with customers. And it is very powerful because it can detect the context of the communication, the context of the used words, with each other, and it comes up with analyzing what is that text about and how is it written. It also can augment text in terms of reviews for your products, for example. So you can analyze what are the comments for your product, what are the reviews about, what is the major feeling from the customers using your product, and it can really learn how to precisely describe the mood of the text. Another thing is about augmented lifeguards. That is a nice one, I think, because it's really helpful. So it just controls the pool area, and it detects if there is a child or a kid wearing swimming gear or not, and if it's underwater or not, and then it just immediately can alert a lifeguard to save the child. So that are a few examples about those AI we already have. And what we see is that major applications at the moment we discuss, and what we see and why we say, okay, AI, it's nice, but maybe not that powerful, we wanted to have it, is because at the moment we see a lot of narrow AI. So that is all those recognition stuff. We can recognize speech, languages, faces, of course. We can do some actions out of that recognition. But what we rarely see is the strong AI, which is maybe boosting the AI if we reach that point. For example, logical thinking or the ability for decision out of AI. That is the differentiating point of view between the narrow one and the strong one. And that is maybe the part of deep learning, very complex neural networks, and that is the part we're seeing and touching today already. So if we come to AI, it's always a question about the risks. We talked about that yesterday evening, that that's a special hobby of the Germans to look for technology risks before we develop them and adapting them. But maybe a quick view about the risk could be helpful in the further discussions. So the discussion is swinging very hard. So it's from we getting all Terminators and destroying the world, or AI will help saving the world's future. So it's very tough, that discussion, and it's on or off, and there are VIPs and leading scientists discussing those questions, very prominent in the media. So what we think is that the big risk is not the Terminator scenario. We think that the risk today is just the AI limits. So we have a risk that we maybe trust on AI decisions which are not proper, which are not trustworthy. For example, you all know the Chihuahua dog example, which is showing very powerful where the risks or where the limits of AI is. So do you know that example? So the thing is, we try to find out, is it a Chihuahua or not? So classification task for AI, it should be very easy. We train the system with 1 million Chihuahuas, and the system works properly. And then we have a muffin between them, and the system just think it's a Chihuahua. So that is the short explanation of that application. What we want to point out is that if we take a trained AI pattern to another context, which is not trained for that, AI's limits will show up very quickly because it's not capable to recognize the new context and to adapt itself right now. So that means that we have to understand where are the limits and where can we get in with our trained AI and where not. So for humans, it's easily to understand. A baby can recognize a Chihuahua or can differentiate a Chihuahua from a muffin, but AI is limited here very hard. So another one is, now I think the Chihuahua example is too good. We can't move further. No. Perfect, thank you. Another example is a very famous one because everybody is talking about that because it's a societal question about bias. So what we see is that Compass software, which is a statistical tool to predict how high is the risk for criminals to become criminal again. And what we saw in that example is that if we take comparable criminals and showing getting the risk level, we see that there's a differentiation between black and white people. And the result is that that the people found out that there is a big bias in the training data. So we took the wrong or the biased training data to train the algorithms, and we got out a wrong result. So, and that is a very big problem because there's an effect which is called bias in, bias out effect. And that means that every human being is bias affected. So we have a bias. In that case, the training data was biased because of the judging data was biased already, and we have to deal with that point that we bring automatically biases in such a system, and the algorithm will bring out bias-affected results. And that is a very big problem because we are not sure how to detect those biases. We trust on AI results, decisions, and we don't know if they are biased or not, especially if we go to neural network working, because we can't see how the AI is operating. We just see the results, and we can't judge the way it decided. So another thing is to keep in mind that AI only works in the trained context, and we need for that, also for the bias case, we need explainable AI. We have to explain how the AI is working, how the decision is coming up, and what are the mechanisms behind. That doesn't mean that we need to know all the neurons, how they work and how they are connected, because I think we can't do that. But it needs to find out how is the basic mechanism behind those things. So coming up to AI in manufacturing, so we want to see what is the manufacturing perspective in that field. And of course, we see a lot of application fields. So all the application fields we already discussed also in the smart factory wave. So from robotics to how is optimized resource management look like, et cetera, et cetera. And if we look to two examples, it seems to be very powerful also in the manufacturing matters. So on the left you see a robot with an artificial human hand, and that application can recognize things, new things, never seen, geometrical parts, and it has a vision system to plan the movement. So based on that part. And then it making that movement very smooth, and it's very, very powerful, very repeatedly working. So you bring a new part in, and the robot is teaching itself and planning the strategy how to move that part automatically by itself. So if we have, we can imagine that if we have those powerful applications, we can think about new forms of collaboration, applications between a robot and a human being, because the robot can easily adapt on the situation it detects. So how is the human moving? What can I do? Well, how can I help the human? And plan immediately the actions by itself without programming. Another thing is we have a big project in Stuttgart and all around Germany about the car manufacturing of the future. You see it in the right corner. It's about killing all the conveyor belts, bring it into a fluid form of production, dock manufacturing, and try to because of the variety of products, it's very hard to line up such a characteristical production line. So we try to get it freely moving, and we try to trace the cars into the right service module, and giving the human being, the worker, the right instruction, what to do, how to do. And for that field of action, how to plan and control such a manufacturing system, we are dealing with AI, because there is so many variabilities that we can't programming just right away. We have to deal with all that unforeseen events, and that is also a big project. If you're in Stuttgart, you can visit that one. It's called Arena 2036. So that means coming up to, well, time is running, 50 more slides to go. We have main focus areas. And I want to point out that it's mainly not about only the technology. We have technology is ready. We have to think about the whole and the holistic transformation of companies in all those areas. So we have to think about what is the strategy, what are the business models behind, are we only using it for getting better inside our processes, or is it a customer thing? We have to think about the organization and the human itself. What are the ethics behind our AI application, and so on. And just skip that one. And that's bringing me to 6 central questions. What is augmented intelligence, by the way? How will work really change? What is a suitable organization for transformation? How can companies start and finding their potentials within their value streams and their companies? And what is human-centered approach? Meaning we all talking about that today, but maybe we should answer a point of view. What is it? What could it be? And what are acceptance factors for those things? So first of all, what is augmented AI, or the human augmentation? In our point of view, it's very, very simple, defined in assist people doing things in a better way. So that means we try to find out where we can help people, where we can combine the human skill set by using the machine skill set to get the superhuman. That is the overall goal, and we're using all those methods to assist the people, not to substitute people, to assist them. And further on, human-centered approach is, in our point of view, is different, because the overall goal of designing those use cases is to improve those combination between a machine and a human being, not to substitute, automize it completely. It's more a deeper look in how can we support the people in their processes. And that's why we came up with that human AI teamwork. Harvard is talking about that missing middle. Where is the point where we can combine machine skill set with the human skill set to get that superhuman? And it is the approach itself. So if we want to have human-centered AI use cases, we need to design the use cases in a human-centered approach. So that means we need design thinking, human-centered design approaches to get people involved into the design process and finding out what are the questions, what are the pains in the processes, and what are the major things we can support. So that means that we try to come up to that point where we have a collaboration scenario, a teamwork between AI and human being. Yeah, you maybe know such pictures in terms of the robot-human collaboration. It's quite the same. So we have coexistence. That is, for example, predictive maintenance, predictive quality. So AI is doing his job, and the human being is doing the other job. And we want to go for that collaboration use case. We don't want. Maybe we get some substitution, that is automation. We need to be more productive, of course, and so we will get substitution and we will get automation, it's for sure, but we want to point out where are the chances of collaboration between AI and the human being. So we have some nice statements. Maybe you know Kai-Fu Lee and his very big statement about substitution of work. That is a nice one. Just here, he said, every job which takes less than 5 seconds to think will be done by robots. So that's an easy one. So you can challenge yourself if your job is ready for automation or not. But we have a little bit a different view, because we say, maybe going back, we say a job is containing many tasks. So we can automate some tasks, some not. So a job is not just one task which we ask to automate or not. So if we have a look, maybe, for example, the failure management process in manufacturing environment, we see there are a lot of tasks doing. We have to detect the failure. We have to find out what is the root cause, what can we do to prevent it, and to getting it done by in long term, and so on. And if you look very close to that tasks, you will find tasks which AI or a machine can do better. And you will find also tasks which human being is doing better. And if you see the thick boxes, you see the leading actor in that phase, and you see maybe it is a better way to think about the collaborating design of AI assistant system in that case, instead of automizing such a process. At least if you're going to the standardizing thing where people have to be trained and so on and talk to people, you will need a lot of power to do that in AI work instead of doing it just with people. So that is the missing middle. We try to, what is the machine doing very well and what is the human doing very well, combine it to that superhuman and try to find out where this is. And when we think about those technologies, we already talked about it yesterday evening, we think, and the most projects we are doing with industry partners is that we come to the point that is not the technology the problem. So we have AI, we can buy it, we can develop it, we can have strong partners getting it. The most challenging part is changing the mindset, changing the organization, changing the culture, and that is what we have to think about as well. So we have a lot of technological development, but what's about the organization, leadership? We heard it in the presentation before. How can we get the people ready to use it, to develop it, to adapt it? That is the major question in our point of view. And how to start it. Maybe it's the best way to get it into a mixture between we have demands and we finding nice solutions where we can help those pains healing, or we going very strict technology-driven with all those challenges. So we have to deal with that questions. I skipped that process. And we have to think very focused about that acceptance thing. So people will not accept just a solution which is showing some decisions. We have to deal with all those questions. How can we make sure that we can explain AI decisions, like what was the reason for the particular decision of AI. So a good example is always the automatic stop in a car. If you stop on the street, the car shut down the engine, and sometimes not. So when does it stop the engine? When does it just leave it like it is? That is a thing we should explain the people which are using those technologies. So when can I trust those AI decisions? Is there a situation we can't trust or not? How can we correct failures? And that's why we come up with all those explainability of AI. So people understand why, should understand why not, and when it was wrong. And that therefore we need that very strong focus on that human-centered design things. So just to sum it up, so we always talking about 4 industrial revolutions. Now we're coming up with 3 waves of AI, so it's a little bit getting confusing. We are right away in that algorithm wave, so we try to automate things, to analyze structured data coming from that big data things. We are running into the augmentation wave where we can really support human tasks by using AI in a smart way. And maybe on the horizon there is coming up the autonomy wave, where we really drive things autonomously, in which case we will see in the future. And that's why we coming up with 5 statements. AI is and was already here. Yeah? Most applications today are in that point of narrow AI with its limitations. Yeah? For AI in a strong way, there are other requirements needed in a data way, in a technological way, also in a human being way. We need human-centered design of AI use cases for accepted use cases. And we need to see it as a tool for that superhuman thing, not only for substitution of humans. And we have to start the right culture for doing that, for that transformation. I'm pretty sure that we don't fail because of the technology. I think there's more cultural stuff doing, and it is not linear, so we can't plan that transformation very well. So we have to deal with unforeseen events. We have to deal with some problems on the way and deal with that as well. So, thank you very much for your interest, and please feel free to ask any questions. Thank you.